Hello everybody, welcome to the Comic Gamer Movie Show. My name is Deshaun, and today I'm here to talk about a topic that I've kind of grazed talking about a couple times. I mentioned it in my last week's episode, and I also mentioned it in my last video, and I also mentioned it back a long time ago when I was talking about why Sam was selected to be Captain America. And it's something that dawned on me not that long ago too, that I thought about too when I was talking about the trailers for Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And it didn't dawn, but it's really been played up to the maximum degree after yesterday's episode, or this week's episode of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, episode 5, is just how important and just how impactful Sam Wilson, a black man, being Captain America, what that means for not only the MCU itself, the story being told in the MCU, but in the world as well. In 2017, man, I think it was 2017. In 2017, Black Panther came out. Was it 18? Shit. Was it 17? Was it 18? Comment and message. Was it 17 or 18? I think it was 17, but I could be wrong. But in 2017, I'm going to just say 17, I don't know, it might be 18, Black Panther came out. And I remember thinking to myself while watching Black Panther, not only thinking that, personally, I don't think, and this is just me being, me being a dude, I don't think Black Panther is the best comic book movie of all time. I don't think it's the best MCU movie of all time, but I think it's the best narrative. It has the best narrative narrative script of any of the MCU movies. It's like neck and neck with Captain America: The Winter Soldier, and it has elegance to it that none of the other movies have, except maybe the Thor movies. But Black Panther really has elegance. It really has a different vibe to it than all the other MCU movies. But the royalty story and the narrative and the topics, it probably has some. The only other comic book thing in the MCU that has something to say more than Black Panther is maybe Falcon and the Winter Soldier. But Black Panther had a message to say. It actually was like, and all the movies have a message, a theme, a message. But this movie had like really something to say. And I believe that's what kind of catapulted Black Panther to the heights that it got, was because it had one of the best narratives in the MCU. It was one of the best written things in the MCU, and it had the biggest message in the MCU. It was really about something. And I always remember this because I do a little bit of writing on the side. I don't know if I'll ever do anything with that writing. But one thing when I'm writing, I always think about what Stan Lee used to say, which is if a story without what's the word I'm looking for? A story without like a meaning, a point, like something to say, isn't a story at all. It's not much of a story at all if it's not trying to say something. And I think Black Panther, that's kind of what catapulted Black Panther to the heights that it got. But one thing that also catapulted Black Panther, and one thing that I was like, it was a very great thing to be a part of and see, is just young black men and young black women and young black people all across the world seeing themselves represented on screen and seeing like themselves be empowered and seeing it be like, black is beautiful. And it was a great thing. It was a great thing, especially since it was in Africa, so it made a lot of black people kind of reflect on their on the culture. But but I actually think Falcon is actually going to be Falcon becoming Captain America might be even comparable to Black Panther, because the one thing that Black Panther has that slight disconnect on is he is from Africa, and it is brought up that essentially Wakanda just sat by while all this shit was happening in America. So as close as as great as it is to see Black Panther, as great as it is to see Wakanda and see all these powerful beautiful black people living living big and large and having this technological marvel and not being like, and it's great to see it. It's great to see black people in a position like that. While it's great to see that, and while I think the movie is great, and I love Chadwick Boseman, I love the Dora Milaje, I love Shuri, I love that stuff, there is a slight disconnect of how much they can connect to young black kids in America, in my opinion, because there's that that distinct cut between them being from Africa. But Sam, being Captain America, a man who was born in America, a man who served America, a man who defended, defended Earth, this man from Louisiana, from New Orleans, like this American-born man, black man, becoming Captain America is going to mean maybe even more than Black Panther. Because, and not only that, but the fact that he doesn't take the super soldier serum, the fact that he's a normal man, it's such a, like, I love this shot in the last episode of his nephew, like, outlining the star and looking up, because it's just like, what that represents to me is something that's going to go down, something that people will remember. There will be people will grow up, like, knowing Sam Wilson as Captain America. Now, we will always have Steve Rogers. Steve Rogers will be the OG Cap. He will always be OG Cap. Eventually, when this whole thing gets rebooted, they're going to go back to Steve Rogers and maybe do this process over again. But if this goes as great as it should, like, people will grow. It's the same thing with John Stewart and the Green Lanterns, but maybe even to a higher extent. Because I grew up, I thought Green Lantern was a black man. Because all I saw was the Justice League. When I grew up, I thought the Green Lantern was a black man. I thought it was John Stewart. I had no clue the hell Hal Jordan was until I grew up and started seeing Hal Jordan and went, who the hell's this white dude? You know what I mean? I've never not heard Martian Manhunter or even imagined Martian Manhunter as not a black guy. Because there's always been because like for the last couple of years, there's always basically the entire time I've been watching Martian Manhunter, he's always been voiced by a black man. And even when he takes a human form, it's a black man. So I've always just imagined Martian Manhunter as a black man. So if this goes right, this would be so impactful. And even in universe, like screw, it's going to be impactful in the real world as well to, in the real world as well, to see that image of a black man as Captain America and what that really means and how that actually represents progression in America. But in the MCU, when he's having that conversation with Isaiah Bradley, and Isaiah basically is just straight up just like, fuck America. Like, he's like, America ain't do shit for me. All they did was do shit to me. And it kind of hint to that, I always say it wrong, Tuskegee experimentation, that whole thing about during World War II where government were giving black people what was it, syphilis? Like, it was something like that. They were giving black people like black soldiers like syphilis or something just to see what would happen and lying to them about it. And like, so shit like that happened, and the idea that happened to him and like literally he survived somehow, and how he's bitter about it, how like that's something I've talked about too with my my mother and friends, is how Sam represents, like, Sam takes into account, well, how we can't ignore the past. That's the thing about it. We can't bury the past. We can't ignore the past. We can't pretend like those horrible things didn't happen. I think that's one of the big problems in the world in general, is that it's always this, like, huge, everyone's just huge swings. And, like, in that scene with Isaiah Bradley is understandably doesn't give a fuck about America. Understandably, like, I don't care about the red, white, and blue. The red, white, and blue ain't do nothing to me but screw me over my entire life. And understandably, and I mean, he goes as far as to say, not only will America not accept a black man as Captain America, but no black man should even want to be Captain America, because no black man should ever even no self-respecting black man should even feel like he even would want, like, why would you want to represent this country that feels that way about you? That treats you a certain way, that looks at you a certain way. And from his perspective, that is probably what he feels. And it makes sense for what he feels because of what he's been through. But the world is so crazy that these days that it's like, you should take other people's opinions in, but it shouldn't dictate your opinion. And I love that that's what happened near the tail end of this movie. It's like, Sam is grappling with what Isaiah said. He's thinking about it. He's like, there's some truth to that. But he's not going to let it dictate how he feels. He's going to take that into account. And like he said, all that suffering he went through, all the pain that generations of black people have gone through to just push it a little bit and push it a little bit and push progression a little bit, it will all be wasted if we throw in the towel now. If I just give in to the beat that if I just give in. And in fact, me becoming Captain America can maybe be I believe Michael Jackson once said this, be the change you want in the world. Be the change you want. And change don't happen unless you do something about it. And Sam deciding to become Captain America, to be a black Captain America, is him deciding, this, I can't quit. This change will happen. I understand how you feel, Isaiah. I understand what Steve thought when he was giving me the shield, but none of that matters. You take people's opinions in, you negotiate in your mind, you see the valid points they have to make, and you make your decision. But the problem is, a lot of people, like I said, a lot of people are very extreme and they're just like, I don't care what anyone else thinks, and if you disagree with me, I don't care what you think either. But it's like sometimes, like the way that scene, though, that was handled in that episode, to me, is almost how I feel like most conversations should go. Is someone tells you their truth, you listen to what they have to say, you understand, you try to walk a mile in their shoes, you try to see it from their side, and then you take it into account, you sit on it, and then you come up with your own way of handling it. You come up with, what does it mean to you? And don't let anyone else change your opinion, but don't discount someone else's opinion. So, and I think that, that whole sequence for me represented so much, because there are so many older black people, older black folks and older black men and women who have these conversations with younger black people all the time about how they feel about the world, and they see it differently. I love a lot of my family members. I love my grandmother. I love my mom. I love my dad. I love my uncle. I love a lot. Like, they're older people, but they will always see. But like older people, if you got a black family member older than 50, they just see the world differently than you. It might not be anything crazy, but they just see, because they seen things that you haven't seen and you won't see. And that conversation he had with Isaiah is just like, that's the kind of conversation that would go down in real life. It felt so raw and real, because you're like, yeah, that's exactly how that conversation would go. It'd be just like, because Isaiah looking at Sam like he's optimistic, like he's too optimistic because of what happened to him. But Sam is looking at change. Sam wants to be the change. Him being a black Captain America in this universe is going to do so much, man. It's going to be such a big deal. Out in our world, seeing kids see that image, seeing kids see him in his Captain America uniform that he most definitely will be wearing in episode 6, seeing him have the shield, seeing this normal man ascend to what would start off as the most iconic position you could hold in him. Like, being a Captain America is a bigger deal than being the president. Like, let's face it, if Captain America existed in real life, being the Captain America would be a much bigger deal than being the president, just because of the title, what that represents. Look, president ain't never saved the universe, all right? President ain't never saved the planet multiple times. You know what I mean? Being Captain America would mean so much. The president doesn't have an entire wing in the Smithsonian dedicated to just him. No, one guy, not a bunch of guys, one guy. But, like I said, I think that it's such a massive deal that Sam becoming Captain America. I think it's going to mean so much to so many black kids. It's going to mean so much in universe to the story. Him taking Isaiah Bradley's opinion and taking other people's thoughts in and going, I need to, being the change. And I think that's a big deal. I think that's such a big message in the show. And honestly, I can't wait for next week to see him in his full Captain America gear, with the wings, with the shield. I can't wait, man. I really can't. And it's going to be a big deal. It's going to be a big deal. But anyways, what do you think? Do you think that Sam Wilson, and it might be a touchy subject for some people, I usually don't make videos like this, but I just feel like it's hard not to talk about it, because that's what the fucking episode was about, and that's what the show is about. There's a lot of stuff like that, and it's hard for me to ignore because I see it, and it's just like, yeah, man, I see it. And so what do you guys think? Do you think, how big of an impact do you think Sam Wilson being Captain America will mean? Will it be comparable to the Black Panther impact, or will it be below that? And what did you take away from the conversation Isaiah Bradley had with Sam Wilson? And like I said, the conversation they had is a conversation that happens a lot. It's not about that kind of crazy. It's not that kind of crazy, but you have those conversations in your family all the time. And like I said, I think the takeaway, I'm so excited. I'm so excited to see where they go with this. Now I'm kind of wondering, maybe they should do a season 2. Because I'm not sure you can really get into the nitty gritty of this with a 2-hour movie, but we'll see. Anyways, thank you guys for joining the Comic Game Movie Show. Please like, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.